All right, so we are recording now. Welcome to the midterm lecture. Primarily, I'm going to review Mod 8 and then go over a few things, and we'll actually take a look at the midterm. I usually ask a couple people to pick a couple questions, and we will review them so you can get an idea. Let me start sharing here first. All right. And you'll see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me show the video panel so I can see. All right. So go over the assignment first in Mod 8. 6 questions. The first one was write a query that will return both the max and min average salary, the average salary group by department. There was actually a couple ways to do this. So if you didn't get this answer, you can do well, I used a round just so I don't get that long illustration of the max. But basically max average or av max, usually just to let you know, if you're going for a maximum or a minimum like this, and it's an aggregate, it's a nested function, you want to do max and minimum, first. But anyway, the answers for this, if I can highlight, is basically this 19,333 and 3,500. If you got anything different, that's fine. Basically, there were actually 2 possibles for this, but I think everyone did pretty well here. All right, let me make sure I get Maria and Jose. And let's see who we're missing. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2 was write a query that will return the average of the max. And you're giving specific instructions, and these 2 questions, you may think, well, they're kind of redundant, but they weren't. Basically, I'm asking you to look at the maximum average of the maximum salaries in each department. So this still should be one response. So I think most everyone got this right. It was 10,775, and that's the maximum of the average salaries of each department. And why would you need that? Well, you probably won't need that on a report, and it's select average max salary from employees, group by department. That's the key. That group by ensures that you get that particular number. All right. Write a query to display the manager ID, job ID, and total salary. Include the result in a subtotal, and we all know that this is a roll-up. So the query is manager ID, job ID, sum salary, and then group by roll-up with those 2 fields. And I think everyone got this one, and it gives you the grand total and the subtotal, etc. Right? Any questions about roll-up? And yeah, that one was pretty straightforward. All right. Write 1 query to return employee ID, job ID, hire date, department ID of all employees, and a second query listing the employee ID, job ID, start date, and department ID from the job history table. Combine the results as one single output. Make sure you suppress duplicates, and that's a union and not a union all. I think no one had a problem with that. Number 5, list all employees who have not changed jobs even once. Such employees are not found in the job history table. So this was a minus. That little statement in the parentheses gave you the pretty much reason to use a minus. You're subtracting using a minus, using that type of function to essentially differentiate between those particular selections. So that was a minus. And I think everyone got that one right, from what I can tell. And then lastly, using the union operator, write a query that displays employee ID, job ID, salary of all present and past employees. If the salary is not found, then just display a 0. And yes, you can simply just write a union, use a union set operator function. And then for the last, in the job history table, if there's no salary, then basically you just replace it with a 0. And it looks like that. Easy peasy. All right. I think you all did pretty well on the assignment. Let's take a look at the quiz. Where did I put it? Here it is. All right. So the quiz. I will tell you, this one was, well, if you didn't do as well as you thought you should, there was a reason. There's one question that I really need to make sure I I do need to address that. So we'll get there. All right, question 1. If you want to include subtotals and grand totals, for all columns mentioned in a group by, that's a roll up, especially eliminating the 4 choices that you have here. Question 2, examine this query, select department ID, manager ID, job ID, sum, salary from employees, group by grouping sets. So select the group by grouping set clause from the following list, the correct one, and that should be grouping sets, and it should include those particular columns, department ID. So it's the one that includes all those particular columns: department ID, salary, department ID, job ID, department ID, manager ID, and that's the only one that has grouped those correctly as far as grouping sets. All right. Question 3, I give you kind of a table not in your little schema. It's a products table. It contains these columns: product ID, product name, product category, product price, product quantity. You need to identify the minimum product price in each product category, which query could be used to accomplish this. And it's the second one here: product category, min product price from products grouped by product category. The rest will not satisfy that requirement. All right. Reference the employees table in our schema. This is a question where actually, if you run any of these queries, how many of you ran these and got no results? And can you tell me why you got no results? If anyone can tell me why we got no results, you all get credit for this question that I was supposed to modify and I did not. Why no results? And either any of these. Anyone want to venture a guess? No one. You're all very quiet. Crickets. Crickets. All right. So the 40,000, we all should know that there's no one, and even King does not get a salary of 40,000 a month, right? So basically, what the selection was supposed to be was 40,000 divided by 12. So the query, actual query, and you all get credit for this. So I'm going to go back in there and take care of you all, because I was supposed to change that and I did not. So that was my problem. So basically, the query should have been this one here. You see the 40,000 divided by 12. And if you run that one, then you get all the correct employees. Most of them are making more than that and have been working for more than a year. So yes, you all get credit for that. I think there's a couple people that answered correctly, but I don't know if you just thought that it was a dumb question and there was no answer to it. The more appropriate query. But yes, you will all get credit for question 4. All right, so what will the following SQL query do? Select job ID, count from employees group by job ID. And basically this will give you each job ID and the number of employees that's connected to that job ID. So that's the last one. Number 6, evaluate this query. Select count, employee ID, department ID from employees group by department ID. You only want to include employees who earn more than 15,000. Now, yeah, that's another one. We know that 15,000, but you didn't have to worry about running that query. You should know that that would be a simple where clause. So the where salary, because we're not using a group function. We're not grouping anything. We're grouping by department ID, but we still can use the where clause there because there's not an aggregate function for salary like sum or average or anything like that. So the correct answer would be where. Okay. And then finally, which of the following are correct set operators? Choose 2, union minus, union all, intersection. Minus plus is not a set operator. So those 2 were correct. All right. Any questions about that? The quiz or the assignment? I will go back and give everyone credit for number 4. So yes, sir. Great. Garrett. You're muted. Or was that a question?
No.
Okay. No. Yes? No.
No.
All right. All right. Couple things before I launch into the midterm lecture to help you all. There's a opportunity for extra credit. Where did I put that? Well, that's coming up. Let's see. Well, it's module 10, but you can go in there anytime. And basically, if you don't do it, it does not count against you. But if you do go in there, if you want to increase your grade, it's an opportunity to increase your grade. I just wanted to mention that and mention the fact that it's there if you want to bump up your grade. It's just a bunch of queries. You can do as many or as little as you want. And that's the number of points that you get. Once again, it does not count against you. It actually counts a plus. If you go in and do all of them, then basically that's pretty much 100% of extra credit weighted a certain way so that it is a plus for your grade. All right. The midterm, once again, let me illustrate. It starts on Wednesday morning. Make sure, if you haven't already, let me check right away before I get into this. You've tested and downloaded and dealt with the Respondus Lockdown browser and all that. Let me see who has not. Because that is important. If you haven't downloaded the Respondus, you will not be able to take. So Alan and Frank and Richard and Maria, make sure you go through that between now and Wednesday. Go through that testing Respondus Lockdown browser, which is here in the module. And basically, when you open that, it's a little quiz, but when you launch the quiz, you can watch a little video. It talks about why we use the Respondus Lockdown browser and all that. But make sure you do that before you attempt to open the quiz. Obviously, if you don't download the Respondus, it will not open and you will get a 0. So the midterm will remain open from Wednesday morning to Sunday at midnight. I will tell you once again, once you open the midterm, you have to go through the entire 50 questions in 90 minutes, and then you cannot leave the midterm. If you leave it for any reason, the Respondus Lockdown browser will stop and you will get a 0. So you stay in the Respondus, go through all 50 questions. That's the way it works. All right. So I'll throw this recording in that midterm. You do have a review sheet, and I actually, just to let you know, I pay very close attention to make sure, especially all the bolded items, there's components in the bolded items for sure, but it doesn't mean the items that are not bolded are not included, but pay attention to the bolded items. I suggest reading through this, printing it out. As you know, you can't open this. You can't even open Canvas when you're in the Respondus Lockdown browser. That's an immediate breach. The test will close and you'll get a 0. So the test goes from Module 1 through Module 8, the one that we just finished, set operators and group functions. So to briefly review this, basically Module 1, Introduction to Relational Databases, primary key, foreign key. I mentioned that because we did not talk about that a lot, and you probably don't remember that whole scenario and relationship between primary and foreign. The select statement, what's the difference between a projection and selection? Please remember that projection is used to select columns. Selection is used to select rows. So that becomes a very confusing association, but just remember that. Excuse me. Oh, let's see, someone's typing in the chat. All right. Okay. All right. So what is the command you'd use to display the structure? The DSC or the describe command, distinct, between and in, and null is not null. All of that from Module 2. Module 3, logical operators and or not. The precedent and logical operators, basically the order, the sort order, order by, ascending, descending. Order using column aliases. And remember aliases with a space and how that's structured as far as the syntax. Order of execution of your select statement. Remember, it's from, where, select, order by. You will definitely see that. Module 3 and then Module 4, functions, single row and multiple row functions, character functions, case manipulation, upper, lower, init cap, concat, substring, length, all of those. Your number functions, your date functions, what the sys date is, months between, all of that is wide open. And then Module 5 was the conversion functions, data types, tochar, for example, representing monetary values, etc. Those conversion functions are, these, pay attention to those. Null functions, NVL, NVL2, nullif, coalesce, conditional expressions, case, and decode. Once again, I did not go over that too much, but it is in the videos, etc. And then joins on Module 6, joins, cross joins, natural joins, using on, self join, left and right outer joins, and then joining with more than 2 tables. And then into the group functions, Module 7 and Module 8, especially the number functions and the count and distinct, and then the set operators. All right, so I would suggest truly printing that out or making your own notes. And it is wide open as far as resource material outside of the testing system. You can use whatever you'd like. I will warn you, be very careful using too many resources because you'll run out of time. It's a lot of questions. Basically, a minute, less than 2 minutes per question. So I do want to illustrate, it seems like that's a short amount of time, but most of the questions on average, I've seen that you can answer them in maybe 10 to 20 seconds. Most of the questions. So if you think about that, and with that as a kind of outline of parameters, you can probably answer 75% of the questions almost without thinking. But don't do that, so don't do without thinking and don't overthink. So there you go. Find somewhere in between, and land there, and you'll be fine. All right. Before I get into not yet. The quiz, we're gonna take a look at a couple of the questions. I always like to take a look at the last question, because by the time you get to the last question, you don't want to answer it anyway. Remember, this does require lockdown browser. So let's take a look at the last question. So you need to join the employees table and the schedules table, but the two tables do not have any corresponding columns. Which type of join will be created? According to these choices, a non-equal join, an equal join. It is not possible to join these two tables, or a full outer join. Very odd answers, but what do you think? Which one of these would you choose? Someone has to say something.
Is it not possible?
No,
So that's yes, because the two tables do not have any corresponding columns. No primary key, foreign key. I mean, they're just not. You'd have to do some type of maybe a multiple join here. So that's not possible. Does everyone understand that?
Okay, yeah, no, I got confused because I remember I know that like if not everything matches, you can do that. But now that you said no corresponding
Right,
columns at all, not just a data type mismatch
right.
or a number of column mismatch,
Yeah.
it's everything.
So nothing like that, because you have to remember, you don't have to have the same name to join. Yes, it's data type, and then it has to be a relationship. Has to be a corresponding column. So yes, that would be the answer. There would be no corresponding column. So just to make sure my thinking, I'm going to go into that question, because if I give you the wrong answer, and then you'll be mad at me and say, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. All right, so to correct myself, I actually selected the correct answer as a non-equal join. Now, do you remember what that means? If you remember way back. So, and that's so broad, and I think that's one reason why I bring up this question. So either one of those answers would be correct, and that's why usually everyone misses this question. Because a non-equal join just says that they don't have corresponding columns, but you're going to join them in a way that you can use. For example, they may have something that's similar, and I know that's very vague, but that would be a type of non-equal join. You're essentially forcing the join in that way. And that, yeah, I know that's why I selected this question. It's so much of a tricky question, and by the time you get to number 50, you're like, what the heck is he talking about? So the correct answer for that, instead of it's not possible to join these two, it's always possible to join. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even matter if you don't have corresponding tables. I mean, if you need to kind of force the join, which happens a lot, you just figure out the appropriate table. So, and that's always categorized as a non-equal join. Let's see. No, it's not a full outer join. Well, that's another way to just join the tables without any parameters or basically, but you still need to join the tables on something. So full outer join, that's something a little bit different. All right.
Yeah.
So now that I confused you and you're like, oh no, this test is going to be whacked, and I'm just gonna. All right, so I'll give you another. We'll kind of scroll through these. Pick out one that you probably want to see as I'm scrolling through, and we can chat about it a little bit. What do you think? you're gonna make me choose, right?
Towards the top, it said something about DBMS.
What
Is
is the
that
most
just
widely used DBMS?
database management system?
Right.
Got it. Okay.
What's the most widely used? Well, the one you're using now, relational, hierarchical, network, project oriented. It's still relational. And that was way back week 1. Yeah, database management system is that. All right. All right. What else? All right, what logical operator returns true if either condition is true? So we're looking at and or not. Which one? Say again.
And
If either conditions is true,
Or.
it's probably or.
I think it would be or. Yeah,
Yes.
or because and is more because is it and like it's this and that
Yeah,
like,
both
they
conditions
both
have
have
to be
to
true.
connect where
Yeah.
or is like either or.
Either or. So yeah.
Yeah.
This one's pretty easy. All right. One more. Let's go midway through. Oh, here you go. You query the database with this command. Select ID number, quantity plus 200 divided by 0.25 plus 25 minus 10 from inventory. Which expression is evaluated first?
Wouldn't it be the division? The 200 divided by 0.25?
That is correct. Division, so the order of precedence as far as calculations, then addition, then subtraction, then addition. So,
Yeah. It'd be different if it was outside the parentheses. Then it would be whatever's in the parentheses first. If
Right,
I'm
so-
thinking correctly. Yeah.
but it's all in parentheses, and that was the tricky thing about it. So
Yeah.
within the parentheses, so you know the parentheses is going to be evaluated first, but which calculations within the parentheses is evaluated? Yes, it's that 200 divided by 25. Okay, one more. That one's pretty easy. That one's pretty easy. All right, you all choose one of these. Anyone? You're all saying it's just way too many questions to begin with, right?
I kind of want to do the one at the top of your screen there. The what is the wrong with the following
What is
select
what is
query?
wrong with the select query? So what's wrong with this? Select last name, job ID, salary times 12 as yearly income, commission percentage from employee. So what's wrong with that query?
is it missing the things around for yearly income for the alias?
So it's an alias, and what are we missing?
Is it double quotations?
Double
Yeah,
quotation.
Yeah.
Yearly income needs to be inside double quotes. That is correct. So you see, it's not that hard. They better not change any of these answers. So what was the last, what's the correct answer for the last one? You've forgotten already, haven't you?
What was the choices of it? It was either
Equal
It's not
join,
possible.
non-equal join, not
Yeah, on that
possible, or
one.
full outer join.
It was not possible or non-equal.
Non-equal join, yes. All right. So that's the midterm, and yes, it is a midterm, and yes, it is an assessment of your learning thus far. I definitely will recommend going back if you all of the little exercises that I had given you in practice and solutions, and even the assignments and quizzes. all are very, very good practice. So I would go back and review all of that if you, yeah, as much as you can. So a couple things, make sure you finish the testing a lockdown browser, because that is the download page, etc. And please use that link, the link that's in here, because that's set up specifically for CGCC, which is why we have our own particular link, and that's the way the respondus is set up. So make sure you use this link to download the respondus. If you Google it and download it from any other place, it will not work with our canvas. So please do that. And just answer the 3 questions in this little testing respondus lockdown browser section. Yeah, I think they're pretty straightforward. Which operator is used to compare values to a specific list of values? Yeah. Yeah, and these are typical of the questions that you see in the midterm. All right. All right. Any questions for me?
I do have one question, I guess, relating, because I still get confused by it. What is like the difference between cube and roll up? Because on the test last week, I ended up saying cube instead of roll up because it said like everything. And I know that cube and roll up are similar, but I know that they also do different things. But I'm confused on like what exactly that difference is.
All right, let me make sure I get this.
I want to make sure like I understand it so I don't get tripped up again.
All right, just a second. Where is my? Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing here.
I had also answered cubed on that, so don't feel bad, Evan.
Yeah, me too.
Well, no. Yeah, I'm not ashamed about it. I'm just confused by it, and I want to make sure I understand what that difference between roll up and cube
All right,
is,
so
because I was kind of lost on it.
roll up, listen carefully. Roll up is just a tabulation. You get subtotals and totals, period.
Okay.
Cube is a cross tabulation, and you get all the types of combinations in the cube. You rarely see anything that's associated with a cube, to be honest. If it's asking you anything about a tabulation, subtotals and totals, that's always going to be a roll up. There's technically not any difference. What I would suggest, if you really need to see the difference, go ahead and run. Matter of fact, let's do that. Let me see. I'm going to show you the difference in a query. So let me just set this up so that you can see. But generally, even in my career, I never use a cube. I only use a roll, rarely, but never a cube. So let me get this for you. So it's the oracles or the Oracle Academy wants you to know about those particular grouping set functions. Are they useful, especially in today's database world? Not really. You're not ever going to use that to form. Let's see where.
So on the quiz, your question says if you want to include subtotals and grand totals. So that should have been our hint that it's just roll up because there's nothing specifying cross tabulation or any other calculations.
Well, you just explained it.
Cool.
Explained it very
okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So subtotals and grand totals is always a roll up. If it has anything about cross tabulations or cross, adding, across departments or you're trying to differentiate all of that, that would be a cube. I was gonna, oops. Okay. So Daniel summed it up here. Subtotals, grand totals, roll up. Cross tabulations, cube.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah. Okay.
Other questions? And to be frank, you probably won't see any questions on cubes in the midterm. Probably. I don't remember, but I don't think so. Yeah. It's useful to know, not as useful. You probably will never see that. And someone will probably prove me wrong, but I don't think you rarely will see anyone requesting a cross tabulation using SQL. So, all right, other questions? So does this mean you're all ready? You're all ready for the midterm, right? No problem.
I definitely feel a lot better about it after today.
It's, all right, I can tell you it's just long. It's a lot longer than you're expecting. You know, you've been taking these 7, 8 question quizzes. The midterm seems to go on forever. And
Is
all the
it-
students that I've taught this class like 4 or 5 years now, they all say, well, maybe you should cut it in half. It's a midterm. So the length of the test is a challenge in and of itself. So that's why. So that's the biggest obstacle, is that it is long. It'll take most of you at least an hour and 20 minutes, most of the 90 minutes. Because you'll get bored and you'll start drifting. You have to stand up and get a glass of water and you'll forget about it. And like, uh-oh. Then all of a sudden you have 10 minutes left and you have to, that's what happened to one student. He went and sat on his couch and fell asleep. Had to come back after an hour.
Shit.
Whoops. So it is long. There's lots of multiple choice. Reading, okay, please read the questions and then read all of the responses and pick the best answer. I actually did go back into the midterm this last year because I tried to take out all of the confusing questions, but sometimes I don't remember what I do. So you just have to bear with me. And I do want you to, make a note, and I will give you a chance next week. What you like, what you didn't like, what questions were, because I am going to grade it that way. If there's, although I haven't had that problem too much, if there's enough questions, if there's a question that everyone missed, obviously we have to take a look at that. But I haven't had that issue of late. So, but please make a note of that. All right. Okay. I'm making sure I have everyone accounted for in my attendance. All right. Okay, last chance. Any questions about the midterm? I will go over what the requirements are here before we leave, but
I have a quick question.
go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, so just because I know you mentioned to go back and review the the homeworks, the quiz and everything. How much of the questions in the quizzes do you think are gonna be on the midterm?
A
Would
few.
you say?
There's a few.
Yeah.
There are a
Okay.
few that or I just modified them slightly, but it's the same questions.
Okay.
So yeah, you'll recognize some of those questions really can't change that much. So if you did well in the quizzes, and some of the quiz questions I tried to mix them up a little bit, but if you did well in the quizzes, that's like I said, you'll see questions that they're like, oh, it'll take you 5 seconds to answer it because it was one of the quiz questions. So yes, there's a few in there.
I have a question as well.
Go ahead.
What would you say is like the most important areas for us to like go over in like our past quizzes? Or like what do you think shows up most in the midterms?
That's a good question. I tried to mix it up. Well, here, let me review my own notes. Give you some where am I? Some heads up. So the one thing I do want to tell you, don't panic, because That just creates another level of an obstacle that you have to get by. There's no need to panic. Let's see. Basically know the structure of your select statements and know the order of execution. If you remember that. Select has a specific order from where select order by, know when syntax is critical. Be very comfortable in your select syntax. Where does the order by go? What happens if you have a descending in your order by? When do you use having as opposed to where in a group function? The group function should be clearer in your mind since that's the last two modules. Usually you will remember those more quickly. Yeah, let's see. All right.
Also,
go ahead.
Sorry, is this test, are you going to be grading this test or is it automated grading?
It's auto-graded, but I go back and I check all of the grading.
And also, sorry, another question. Are there a bunch of like written responses or are they mostly multiple choice?
Mostly multiple choice. No
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's all, if I remember correctly, and I need to validate that. I think there's maybe one or two, no, with 50 questions, if I give you a lot of fill in the blank, then you probably rebel and say, I'm not taking it. That's it. I'm out. Let me just review it right quick. To answer that question more thoroughly, let's see. Pretty sure it's multiple choice. Mostly. Questions. Yes, multiple choice. Like 99% of it. You have to look at queries, you have to look at result tables and determine which query produces. Those usually take a little bit longer because you can't just simply run it in a development environment. You just have to think about the answer. I do give you result tables and you have to choose which functions. Oh, that's another too. Those single row functions, multi-row functions, those conversion functions, don't forget about those. Those are probably the ones that you mostly struggle with because you have to choose if it's to char or to date or, So let's see what else. There's a few where you're given a query that has an error. And you have to determine what the error is. The others there's a few true false questions in there, but primarily it is multiple choice. Answer that a little bit more thoroughly.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. So once again, don't panic. There's no reason to, but I know you're saying whenever I hear the word test or midterm, it automatically invokes a panic and you start pulling your hair out. And it takes you 5 minutes to get over that, and that's 5 minutes that you could have used to, just dig into the questions. Once again, once you start, that's it. It's open for 90 minutes. If for some reason you try to navigate out of the respondus, it'll close. You get a 0. You can leave. You don't have to sit in front of your camera or anything like that. Although you can set the respondus to do that. Take a picture of the room, etc. All it will do is just lock down your system that you're testing on so you can't open up any other applications. If you open up anything, even if you get an email on your system and you try to open up the email, that will invoke the respondus to close. So once you open it, do not go to any other application. That is one of the requirements with that respondus lockdown.
I have one last question, I think.
Yeah.
If there are any problems like when we're taking the midterm, like technical difficulties that aren't something like that where we've opened something else, can we contact you and figure out a way to like reschedule it?
That's a no.
Okay.
So unless it's truly a technical issue,
Mhm.
and then I have to determine whether that's a technical issue. And then basically I would have to create a makeup test, which we don't normally do that, but that's only if it's truly a technical issue. If the
Okay.
respondents, we haven't had it in, 5-6 years I've been teaching this. We haven't had an issue like that, or no one's confessed to that, I've had a couple of students decide that they forgot about the respondents and they tried to do something else in their system, and of course it shuts down. It sends me a message in Canvas, and basically I have to give you a 0. But if you truly have, even if you have if you have something like a power outage, which may occur, then yes, we would have to essentially
The only thing I'm
schedule.
worried about is like Wi-Fi connection for the test.
Same here.
Mhm.
That's another worry of mine is if my
So-
internet disconnects during the test.
That's a legitimate concern, but the onus is on you. I mean, I would think that you would have some type of backup. Make sure you have 90 minutes of service somewhere, and
Okay.
you can even head to, but you can't guarantee that. I know that, but it's just 90 minutes, or it may not even take you that long. I would say an hour of uninterrupted service. It should not be a problem. In my mind, I think we all can accommodate that for the most part. That would be my response to that. Yes. Okay. Any other questions? I'm trying not to prolong this so you're getting more and more nervous, because you're all nervous test takers. Just take a deep breath. And now you have to wait until Wednesday morning. And some of you work, and I'm not going to even try it until Saturday. Which you have plenty of time to sweat over it. Me, I would always just, as soon as it opens, I'm in there, getting it out of the way. And besides, this is Holy Week, and you got Easter Sunday, and some of us, we don't want to take Good Friday. I mean, you have God on your side, so it's Holy Week. It's a good time to have a midterm, so no worries necessary. All right,
Mm-hmm.
are we okay?
Mm-hmm.
I will see right away. The first person that takes it has to score 90% or better. Who's going to be the first victim?
Is it a challenge?
Yes, absolutely a challenge. So there you go. So now you're all waiting. So I'll be the only one that knows, but maybe I'll send out a message that says, okay, someone scored 90%. Y'all don't have to take the midterm. No, I'm not going to say that, but that could be a challenge. I did have a couple last year. Well, the first two students, the first student that took it got a 98. And he missed the last question because he said he was just too tired. And so I've given you the last question. So I've actually given you 4 or 5 questions. So you have even more time now. So there you go. Right. Any questions? Last minute. Are we okay? Now, remember, you can't message me for help. You can't say, I'm stuck. Can you give me the answer to number? No, well, hopefully you're on your phone. And last thing, once you open the respondents, do not try and access anything else. I would not like giving you a 0 because the respondents shut down. And the one thing you can't restart it. Once you've started it and it shuts down, that's it. You're done. And it gives you a 0. And then, yes, it auto grades, but I check all of the answers. Yes, I go through every student. And if I feel, and I do need to check, the performance there to see if the question is just not worded well, or there should be something that shouldn't be as tricky as it's listed. So I do check that very closely. So if you feel like, hey, that was not fair, and I will actually give you the opportunity, if you have a compelling argument on any of the questions, to challenge your grade. I always open that up for the midterm and the final. And the last thing, if you do well in the midterm, well, doesn't mean you're going to do well in the final. No, you'll do well in the final too, because it's not cumulative. Basically, we have the first half and the second half. So, of the class. All right. I think I scared you all enough, right? I got a couple of smiles, but I can feel some grimaces out there. No,
Like I
need to
said,
grimace.
I feel a lot better about it now, because what I was worried about was not having the developer, and then we were going to be having to like input a bunch of our own queries.
Yeah, no, just you will
And
have
I'm
to
like,
think,
okay, no.
you have to use this thing on the top of your head. And don't just randomly, please don't randomly select answers. That just use 10 seconds. You can think through the responses and get the right answer. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right, then.
Mhm.
There you go. So you all have to make me proud. You're all going to get 100%, right?
I'm gonna try.
Okay, that's another challenge, but yes, you'll all do well. Just don't shortcut your way through it, and you'll be fine. All right.
Yeah.
And I will be congratulating you all. There may be some prizes or whatever next week.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. All right.
Mhm.
Okay, then. Take care and dig in. Do well.
Bye.
Thank
Later,
you.
guys.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Take care.
Good
Thank
night.
you.